Hi there, and welcome to how to fill out your weekly update for all PAC team members. This includes any salaried employees as well as any of our independent contractors who work under granted hours. So you've been granted 20 or 30 or up to 40 hours a week. So this is for anybody who's working regular hours within PAC. I'm going to go ahead and share the document that we're going to be using. This is a new document. Both supports and leads will be using this document. So you'll notice if you've done this before that this front page actually looks pretty similar for both leads and supports. We have made some changes, and I'm just going to walk you through how to fill this document out. Your name and title go up here, so you want to make sure you fill in to the top here your first name and then what your role or responsibility is, and that won't shift, so you can keep that the same each week. You then want to put in this column here the week ending date, so the date that you're actually going to be ending. So when you see here, you're going to be able to edit most of this document. If you're having trouble or if something's not working because of an older version of Office or some other reason, this is in Excel, so if you need some training on that, you'll just want to let us know. As I said, you want to just put your name and your title up here. Then you'll want to make sure you put the date. The very first date that we're expecting people to do this is the next week, which is the week of March 13th. So the last date, the Friday, is the 17th. This yellow section here is simply a reminder for you so that you can remember to check these pieces off and make sure you get these in on time. Your expense sheet is due the same day, Monday at 8 a.m. It says Sunday at 10 p.m., but our goal is that you have it to Dan before Monday morning. So did you use the company credit card? This is a simple yes or no. So just a simple Y or N. Did you turn in your expense report? So you want to make sure you do those two in tandem. Where it says evaluations requested from, it's our job to make sure we're getting evaluations on tasks or projects that we've been working on throughout the week. So each week you should be, if you're a salaried employee, it should be each week that you're requesting an evaluation from someone. If you're an independent contractor, where our goal is 1 a month at least, maybe 2 a month. You want to put the name of the person that you requested it from here. And then you want to put how many. So right now I only have 1. If I'm missing some, or if I've asked for one from last week and it hasn't come through yet, I would want to just leave it there as still waiting from so-and-so, and I can just add the name here. Make sure that's just general. Your goal is also to make sure that you've completed any evaluations. If somebody has asked you for one, you just want to note it here. So if Tipa has asked me for one, I want to put it here, and then if I've completed it, then next week I can go ahead and say that I've done that, and I can take it off of there. I can delete it off of there. Monthly financial meeting. This is only for leads or, for the most part, our salaried employees. If you are someone who's in charge of a project or a program and you need a monthly meeting with Dan to check in on financials, budget, how things are going, you want to make sure you've got it set up every month, and then that date just goes here. So that will only shift once a month, not every week. And you can just put the date over here. This part stays pretty much the same. These are just hours counting. Email correspondence and scheduling, that should be pretty minimal compared to your role-specific and task-specific job. If you're not sure and it's sort of just generic email checking, then that's fine. It can go here in the hours. PAC team huddle-ups and check-ins, these are things that are one-on-ones with Tipa and I. meetings with Lynn, huddles with Lynn. If you're a mentor, it's the pre-post huddle. These are things that are required through PAC, the leadership meeting, but not necessarily role specific. They are a more of a team focused approach. This piece here is for reports and expenses. This is not necessarily for you to charge if you're an hourly employee or independent contractor. What this is for us to get a sense of how long you're spending on it. You will not include this on your weekly expense sheet. This is simply for us to note if you're taking 4 hours to fill out this sheet each week, then we've got to figure out a better system to help you out. The next role specific efforts and meetings. This is simply the main part of your job. So things that fit in your tasks and your role as who you are within PAC. This is just a general number count of how many hours you spend each week doing that. Obviously, the goal is that this is the majority of your work. And then some of our team members travel to either meet with people or to run Dementia Kid Education Network trainings. These are things that go outside of PAC, speaking engagements or trainings that happen externally, meetings that happen with external people. Travel is the same. So these are hours spent doing these outside pieces. For the most part, you will know whether or not something goes in this spot. Again here, if there is a blue text, that means that we need TPO or team decision. Red text indicates that there's something that really needs some grave attention. You've tried and can't get this piece through. You are way past due on when you've asked someone to finish something. The deadline is steadily approaching and it doesn't seem like you're making progress. Those are all areas where you'd want to highlight the text in red when you do your descriptors. Down here at the bottom, I've also included please save your document with the following title so that we're getting a little uniformity. It's the date, month, day, and then year. First name, last initial, _ weekly update. I gave you an example here of what that looks like. 03/17/2017 should be the same for everybody on this first one. Then Amanda B, and then weekly update. And if you could please send this document to Lisa B, Amanda B, and Teepa S at teepasnow.com by 8 a.m. on Monday. That's it for the front page. This shouldn't take too long if you've been keeping up with your hours for the week. You can use your Outlook calendar to kind of keep track of that to help out a little bit. Where we shift a little bit, and it looks really different, is these three tabs here will be the bulk of your work. The very first week that we do this, you will not have anything on this predicted week. Our goal for the predicted week is coming from the past week. Your biggest priorities, what you thought you were going to get done this week, should go on this sheet. And I'll show you that in just a minute. For the very first time you fill this out, this will be blank. After that, every week, it's just a copy and paste from the previous week to say, this is what I thought I was going to do this week. It's a simple prediction as far as I think that I can get this project done, or I'm thinking that I could get this project to this point. So you don't necessarily need dates, but you could put dates in here once you have gone ahead and shifted this over. So let's say that Monday on 3/13/17, my goal was to complete a webinar on weekly updates and send out to team. I'm thinking that would take me a total of 2 hours. I've already filled this out. This will be a copy and paste, so I don't need to do this middle section. It'll simply be a copy and paste from this tab down here next week. But for now, I'm filling it out because I don't have anything there. The goal I can fill in now that I've done it, and how long I thought it was going to take me. This is where you're going to actually update us on your week. This is what you actually did. So our goal is that these two tabs, predicted week and actual week, fairly match. You don't necessarily need to fill in these columns for this initial predicted week. However, if you are someone who likes to look at detail and go back and forth and say, oh, I thought this was going to take me 3 and it actually took me 7, or I thought this was going to take me 5 and it only took me 1, that can be something that you fill out. What we do want to see is this section here, the middle section, filled out. And then we can see on your actual week, we do need to see what you actually did, the date that you did it. If it's a date range, that's fine. So maybe I worked on this from 3/13 to 3/14. Then I just give a quick description, as you saw before. Completed X and sent Y. It would be great if you could show us your next steps. Next meeting set for, and then a date. That way we know what's coming next and how to help you achieve those goals. The final piece here is week ending hours. So how many hours did it take me to do this? So let's say it took me 3. You'll notice here at the bottom that it will count up just like before. We left you lots of space. If that becomes too much or too little, then you can always add or delete rows for yourself. The final piece of this is next week. So I will always fill out my actual week and my next week every single time. So even this first week, you're going to do this. This is my prediction for my top 3 to 10 priorities or activities that I plan to complete next week. So knowing that I've just done this, I'm going to make sure that I include this in the memo and get the memo out to everyone by next week. These are my goals. So these are the projects or the specific tasks that I know I'm going to complete next week or that I plan to complete next week. Once I've done this, the following week, I simply copy this amount, whatever I have here, and it can go in my next week's. As you can see there, I'm not going to paste it because there's nothing there, but it'll go in my next week's predicted week. And then I follow through the actual week. I can delete and refill in, and then the next week I want to get new priorities in there. Or if I didn't complete something that I wanted to, then I put it here as a repeat, and I may want to mark it for myself as a highlight or something that, oops, I didn't get to this, I thought I was going to, just so we can start to keep track of what I thought I was going to do, what I actually did this week, and then my plan for next week. And then each week that'll just shift over one spot. So that's about it. It's pretty simple to use. You want to make sure, again, that you're saving it with the document name here and that you're sending it to Lisa, Amanda, and Teepa by the Monday following that week. Let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, this is our new format for 2017 starting on March 13th. Thanks, guys. I wanted to just review sort of how we use these and show you the one small change I've made. I haven't made any changes to the summary page. Remember, even if you don't have any expenses, this box should still say yes every week because you've sent an email with the subject line and $0. So even if you don't have any expenses, that's fine. You still should turn in your expense report, meaning that you've turned in an email that says, I didn't have any expenses this week, so that you can stay on track and so we're not getting weeks and weeks behind. The evaluations requested from, I am still seeing some evaluations come across my, my email, but want to make sure if you're salaried, it's 1 a week. For independent contractors, it's once a month is the goal. So, and then completing them, if you are getting asked to complete a bunch of them. So right now I'm going to ask someone on this call who could volunteer to do an evaluation of this whole process, the weekly updates. If nobody volunteers, then I'll choose someone, but if you already have lots of evaluations to complete, then let me know and I'll choose someone else. So is there anyone who could do a quick evaluation for me on the weekly update process?
Okay.
Dan can. Okay, Dan will do it. Everybody's saved. All right, so make sure that you're asking regularly when you've done something that either goes well or doesn't go well, so that you can get a clear picture of how you're shaking out on all the different fronts. Also make sure you're getting a variety of people to do them, not just asking the same few people each time. Even if you only have a small touch with them, it's important to get their feedback on how it went. The financial meeting, making sure that you're setting it up with Dan. Many of you have done that. And then this hours number should match your actual week hours number. So down here at the bottom, it obviously mine's off by an hour, but it should match pretty closely as to what you actually do and your summary. The predicted week is where I made the changes. So remember what our goal is to do. I'm going to show you next week of 4-7. I had, these were my top 10. Okay, so all I did is copied and then paste to my predicted week of the next week. So you notice it looks the same. The change that I've made is I took off the numbers here. Well, it doesn't have numbers, but it has dates, I think, on the old one. And I changed it to completed. Did I actually do this, yes or no? Because I saw some people were struggling to say whether or not they actually did what they thought they were going to do. So all I did was change this to completed, and then I can put a yes or no. And for myself, I have yes almost or yes a little bit. You know, that's my personal notes to myself that I did some of it, but not all of it. And then I add my notes in red. So these are the two changes that I made, completed and add notes in red. I did still keep the hours here so that I can kind of see, oh yeah, I spent a long time on this thing that I thought I was going to be able to finish really quickly, or I spent less than an hour on this thing and I thought it was going to take me a lot longer. So this process seems to work for me. So I thought I would share it out with everyone. I haven't made any other changes to the actual week. Sorry, that's so small. The actual week is still the same for me. The date, hours, and then the projects. I put next steps in red, but you can choose to do whatever. I've seen lots of people have lots of different methods for the madness here, and that's fine. And then the next week, remember, is sort of your big to-do list for the following week. So generally, I end up copying and pasting and then changing out the few that don't work or that don't fit anymore that I did complete. So any thoughts or questions on that one change or shift that I've made, or any other ideas or changes or shifts that people feel like would help?
It looks good.
A question. You said the actual week should match what's in the summary.
The hours, yeah. So I have 45 here, and then the summary should be 45.
So even if like things like email, you put, because it used to be we just put our role related stuff in the details. So now we put everything in there.
Yeah, so you can decide. I was doing this really differently. I was kind of doing this by task. And now I've switched to do it by day, and I just include all the tasks in here. And that way I can include hours spent on email, because I know in between my meetings I was doing email or whatever it was. So it should match. That's not a huge crisis for me if it doesn't match exactly. It's just something that Lisa does point out to me. If it really doesn't match, if there's like hours different, then she does note it. So it's up to you. I know that for me, I like doing it by day because I just list the things out and then I know how many hours I spend total on that day. If that doesn't work for you, that's fine. And if these don't match, as long as you can say why. For example, I do it by task and I didn't include email as a task, then that's fine.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because I mostly do it by, not mostly, it's all by task. And then emails just in one bucket. But I could put it on that page as well, and then it would match.
Okay, yeah, and that's fine. So if maybe in notes in red, you can say, you know, email how many hours in just a box at the bottom of the actual week so that you can fill up the hours so that these numbers do match a little bit better. Any other questions, thoughts, or ideas on changes that you found useful or ways that you are using this that works? So I'll send the template that I have, which is the same thing. It's the same thing. The only thing, remember, that I've changed is the predicted week, the completed, and activities project worked on. If it's easier for you because you've already got your system going and you want to just copy and paste this into your document, go for it. If this doesn't work for you, that's fine. Let me know what does work and you can use that other format. I'd like to get us all to a place where we're using the same document though. So if it doesn't work for you, then let me know and we'll figure out a way to make this happen so that at least it looks enough the same so that's much easier when Lisa's trying to put all the pieces together.
So some of you have been getting little notes from me sort of as prompts or yay or whatever. Mostly what I'm doing is double checking as I'm looking through them, because both Amanda and I review them to sort of see where folks are spending their time, what kind of projects they're working on, which is one of the reasons I wanted us to talk about all our different projects that are going on, because they're going to impact each other coming up pretty soon. And making sure everybody's on board with everybody's work. But to try to get us to consistency. So within a couple weeks, what we'll start doing is sharing out everybody's to everybody. So you sort of start seeing how everybody's doing it. But before we got there, we have to get everybody sort of on a similar page of submission so that we're getting about the same amount of information from everyone. Rather than some people giving us huge amounts of information and some giving us very little detailed information, so we don't have a lot that other people could pick up on. So wanting to try to do that in a way that helps other team members, other leaders, and other groups get their head around how people are spending their time. That's the point of it.
Okay.